as they're doing this, just plan to plug it in because it almost always never works.
That's an hour and a half of work I had to do.
Okay, everybody ready for
So
journalism with Mr. Anderson?
Yes. Welcome everybody. Thanks for joining me this morning, and we're going to be covering journalism today. So we're going to start you guys off with just a little bit of a video, and while you're watching this, consider kind of some of the current news that you've been seeing so far this year in 2018. So this is 2017 year in review of some of the biggest stories.
President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Mr. Mueller's purview will be the entire Russia issue, the whole question of whether any associates of the Trump campaign were in any way involved in helping the Russians try to influence the election last year.
This test shows an increasingly bold North Korea defying repeated warnings from the U.S. and its allies.
The Weinstein Company announcing Harvey Weinstein was terminated effective immediately.
In space amid multiple sexual harassment allegations. A man opened fire on Republican lawmakers practicing for a charity baseball game. Last night's attack here along the Vegas Strip is the worst U.S. shooting in modern history.
Why this gunman would have attacked this church in this town.
Multiple people are dead now. Several are injured following an incident in Lower Manhattan.
A lot of the attacks we've seen around the world involve these rental vehicles.
We have to be focused on the opioid epidemic.
Overdoses. They're now the #1 killer of people under the age of 50.
There are families out here that are trying to get to safety.
Only 4 of the storms have gotten to this strength before. Storm surge could reach 20 feet.
The situation here is dire.
Everyone now is looking up into the sun.
There has been an increase in violence this afternoon in Charlottesville, Virginia.
The nation divided over NFL players taking a knee during the national anthem. We're witnessing a ripple effect from Charlottesville.
So as you guys can see, there, there've been a lot of amazing stories over the past year, and a lot of them are riveting. A lot of them have concepts in common. So if you guys could discuss your tables so far, what has been the biggest or most important news story of late, in your opinion? Let's say so far in 2018. You guys can kind of debate that and hopefully come up with an answer, one answer for your table. And we'll go around and find out in a minute or so.
Wait, did you say 2018?
Yeah, just of late. So, let's make it in 2018.
Okay.
Consensus created. That was easy. Do we know how that guy got in? People before him first, so I don't know who knows him. Be surprised.
That's hard. Where they just like
Like if people were just to get everyone else sites for magnified by yeah, he did. And then he left.
yeah, they're all good.
People were somewhere.
So you guys have one of these things in mind?
And there's figure other factors, but like.
Yep.
The most pervasive, that's
All right. Do you guys come up with any?
We also said the school shooting.
Okay.
That was also Louise.
Okay.
And the Russian investigation.
Yeah. All right, beautiful. So now we have those down. I'm just going to kind of give you guys an overarching view of the day. So by the end of the day, we're hoping that you guys, the students, will effectively be able to write a summary lead, recognize what makes a story newsworthy, understand how to take great photos, and also be equipped for future education of the journalism topic. Before we get there, I'm just going to discuss a couple theories that help me guide my research and understanding of this topic so that I could effectively teach you. And with that, I started off with what's called the grounded or implicit theory. And so because journalism is such an interdisciplinary topic and practice, it's important that when you're teaching it, you don't just say, oh, this is just a writing technique. It needs to be done in a constructivist way. And so there's actually been debate in schools of whether or not journalism should even be taught in a class or if it should just be an extracurricular activity. Because what journalists say themselves is that you just need experience doing it. So with that, understand that in your classroom and know that the kids are going to learn best by actually doing and learning. A lecture isn't going to be a very effective way to teach a trade, almost, as that's what journalism is. And then I also wrote a little bit about Gardner's multiple intelligences just because it is such an interdisciplinary nature, and you want to appeal to kids who have more than just intelligence in writing and reading. And then finally, with that grounded theory and implicit theory, those theories basically say that we experience the world around us and learn based on, obviously, the world we live in or the world we're grounded in. So for those of us who are so active on social media and have cameras in our pocket with our phones, we need to understand that those, we experience journalism through those mediums too. And so with that, the importance of media ed is risen. So we need to integrate media and journalism education. That can include Twitter, Instagram, photojournalism, blogs, and obviously online newspapers are hiking in popularity because they're more accessible than the print sources. But first, we need to establish what is news. So for those stories that you guys had come up with a couple minutes ago, what would you say they all have in common, and what things make them important to you? Yes?
I think one thing that they have in common is none of them is particularly positive. They're all
Yes.
bad things occurring in our country.
That's true. Mm-hmm. So why do you think people care about the bad things?
I think, I don't know, just knowing that there are bad things to focus on is good because no one wants to hear about the good things happening in someone else's life, I guess. I know that sounds horrible, but I feel like if I was hearing about how great Donald Trump's life is, I'm not going to care and I'm not going to read about it, but when I hear he's being investigated for, having Russian combatants, I'm more interested in reading about that, which sounds terrible, but it's true.
Yeah, probably because it has a bigger impact on your life, because if somebody does something great, that's fine, but someone's negative actions have a bigger influence on, especially in his position, on you as a person. Caleb?
There are also things that lead or are leading to either legislative or social change. Like school shooting now, there's a generation of young people calling for gun reform. Same with sexual assault. There's a social attitude that's different, the Me Too movement, and no one's standing for that kind of stuff anymore. Russia, people are trying to change that as well.
Yeah, exactly. Great. So there are 8 things that make news newsworthy. So you guys kind of mentioned when things make a difference in your life, that's called impact. So one of those 8 values is impact, and that discusses how many people are affected and how seriously are they affected. So if Donald Trump is accused of sexual assault, there's a possibility of his impeachment, which would obviously affect the American public as a whole. So the impact of that story is massive. So just some examples of that: an election, pretty much anything political, and then natural disasters would fit into that category as well. Weight, weight is kind of like impact, but it's the kind of the seriousness of the story. So if something out of character or unexpected happens, that has a heavier weight than something else. So going back to Grace's example, when a negative event happens, that usually has a greater weight in our minds than when something positive happens, because positivity is more normal and just more common. So yeah, just some examples: accidental death or injury. A national sporting event has obviously much more weight than a high school basketball game. Timeliness. So it's called news because you want things to be current. And so with that said, all those things are current news. Proximity. So something that's news to one person may not be news to another. So Vince probably doesn't care about a basketball game in California, but he would care about his old high school's basketball game a bit more than that. Prominence, so the bigger you are, the bigger the target. So Donald Trump obviously is a huge prominent figure in our world, and with that we care about what he does. Kind of same with the Kardashians maybe. Big figures, so we care. Conflicts. When there's conflict, people like to know the outcome, and so with a lot of those stories, so sexual assault, there's a conflict between, think about the Harvey Weinstein investigations, there's conflict between the women and then him, and there's even more at play between gender oppression, just the established systems that we have in the United States. And so with that, there's a lot of conflict, and a lot of people are waiting to see what the outcome's going to be so that they can kind of make their own judgment or form their own opinion on the issue. Novelty, so that's kind of just the interest of the story. So if it's something exciting, like Caleb's article in the Clarion about kombucha, a lot of kids out there are drinking kombucha, and so it's novel. Not many people have ever read an article about that, and it's kind of new on the scene. So it's exciting, and people want to read about something that's novel. And then usefulness. Caleb's article may not have been the most useful, but it was exciting, and so. Yeah, people like to read about things that will impact their lives, and this kind of goes hand in hand with that, impact and weight. So that is that for news values. So just a little activity. I'm hoping you guys still have the Flipgrid app downloaded on your phone. Hopefully at least one of you per table does, and if not, one of you can borrow my phone. But what we're going to do is, this is more of a middle school activity, so don't feel sad if you feel too cool for it. But what we're going to have you do is pick out one or two principles there that you like the best and try to put together. You guys remember Vine?
Yeah.
How great Vine was. 6 seconds of pure joy. But unfortunately now they removed Vine, so we're doing it on Flipgrid. So here is what's going to happen. You guys are going to pick out one of the 8 news values. I'll go back to them. And create a little 6-second Vine, let's say, that illustrates that value. So let's say for impact, if one of you guys wanted to fake punch Maddie, and you say, wow, hard hitting. And you say, oh my gosh, that was a big impact. Really effective. So then we'll have all of those up on the board, and you guys can use that as a study tool or just something to remember in the future. So our class code is 9WMHFZ. And I will flip back to those slides, and we can work from there. Are you guys able to get in?
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, so just pick out one or two, make a little bit, and I also have these, if you don't want to use your own bodies, I have these little characters you can use if you'd like to.
Oh, can we use the characters?
Sure.
That sounds like fun.
Nice.
Where did you just have these sitting around?
Yeah, just have around.
Oh.
So the values we have are impact, weight, timeliness,
That's true.
proximity, comments,
There you go.
Okay, so we do.
Okay.
conflict,
Wait, they get.
novelty.
You want some, guys?
Do you guys want some?
We could take a guy.
Which one do
Which
you
one do you
want?
want?
So
There's
whichever
four.
one
There's
is
a
the most
baby.
handsome.
So we'll try to reconvene in about 3 minutes, so try to have your guys' video or two uploaded at that
Guy in the
point.
spiffy blue jacket.
Yes, great, Greta?
Are we working as like a team?
Yep, table and table group, so just upload one or two between the three of you guys.
Beautiful. Okay. What would y'all like to do? I'm gonna come over there. Yeah. Okay. Let's do.
Wanna do?
Conflict, yeah. I don't like you. I don't like you.
Remember, you can only try to use only 2 or 3 words in you won't have time for much more in a 6 to 8 second video, but.
I'm not creative this quickly.
Which one do we do? And I'll say, there was a big game last night.
Too long.
No, I like that. What about, okay.
3.
There was a big game
What
last
about
night.
this child gets stolen and he's like, she was my neighbor.
I'm trapped.
I can't.
That's
Oh, that was
proximity.
really
You put him on the shoulder, neighbor.
I get it.
Okay, ready?
No, I love that. That's
Wow, that was really soon.
This guy's.
That's 4 seconds.
Very timely.
Are you just writing it?
Yeah, I'll just write.
I like that.
Or, yeah, you
Timely.
Okay, what are we doing?
Oh, wait, yeah.
So that's
I don't know,
what we
this
need
might
to
be funny,
do.
just be like,
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Do like
You just say it,
proximity.
say it. Timely.
It's so dumb, but that's what I
Okay, we have to redo the whole thing.
Ready?
But they have to do something. This could be news.
It's good. It's good.
Alright.
I don't know. I'm really bad.
Was that 6 seconds? I'll let it go.
Alright, so we'll try to finish up in about 2 minutes. Hopefully you guys can have them uploaded at that point.
Can we do like multiple frames?
Oh, there was a big game last night.
I don't know.
Because it could be like,
Well, that was soon.
this is my neighbor's daughter who was kidnapped. I'm the
That's very
neighbor.
timely.
Proximity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I like that.
Oh
That's
my goodness.
No, that's your face. I think you can stop.
No.
Oh, no.
What?
The app isn't working.
What?
It froze on my face.
Okay.
Oh, we are?
But we had like 7 seconds.
So it's like, this
A
girl was
video.
kidnapped. I'm her neighbor.
Well, let's try it on my phone. Let's take it over.
Code is
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
This girl
You
was
started?
kidnapped.
Okay.
I'm her neighbor. Proximity.
HFZ.
Should we do it one more time or is that?
You know what? That's everything. Did anyone see? That's good.
Okay.
Are we good with that?
Yep.
Hey, there was a big game last night.
We're at 10 seconds. That's okay, that's okay.
Wow, that was soon.
Should we do it again? Okay, yeah, the last
Very timely.
we'll say it fast.
Okay. Okay. And it's exactly 6 seconds. Whoa,
Wow.
I am just
Bravo,
good.
guys, nice
Yeah,
job.
she is.
Alright, so let's get those uploaded. Even if you just have one, that's fine. In a perfect world, we can do this all day, but unfortunately, we're on a strict time period.
I'd love to do this all day.
Oh,
Just upload the first one.
That's found.
Well,
Very
I
fun.
don't think we upload.
Caleb loves it so
nice.
That was actually a portrait.
Ooh,
Art.
Grace.
Alright, waiting for one more. I think we can start without them and hopefully they'll get it up. So here we go. We got Caleb's first video. See if you guys can guess what the news principle is.
Hey, there was a big game last night. Wow, that was soon. Very timely.
Yeah, so timeliness. That was very nice.
This girl was kidnapped. I'm her neighbor. Proximity.
That's nice. So, other than proximity, which of these other values?
Hey, there was a big game last night. Wow, that was soon.
So, for the kidnapping example, which of these other values could that have been besides proximity?
Wait.
Weight, yes, there's one.
Impact.
Impact, yes. Wow.
Usefulness.
What?
I mean, if there's a
Oh, that's a
kidnapper
great
by
point.
you,
Yeah, there's
we'd
Oh,
like to
that's
know.
true.
That's a great point, yes. Lovely. All right, yeah, so that's kind of the point is that with any story that's actually newsworthy, it's going to have quite a few of these, not just one or two. And then let's see for this last group. It's not one. Oh, it's a shame.
Why don't you reenact?
Yeah, you guys can do a quick skit.
Alright, can we do one that we did? Okay, pretend that Mandy's winning. Alright.
So you guys can tell us when to go.
I'll do it. I'll do
Okay.
it. Go.
I hate you.
I hate you.
No, I hate you.
No, I hate you.
This is conflict.
That's great. Yes. Although the weight was minimal in that story, it was still fun to watch. Okay, so now we're going to transition into, now that you have something that is newsworthy, you found a story, you want to write a lead that's going to get people to actually read it and find out what's going on. So, the most common type of lead, and probably the one that you'll be teaching your high school and middle school students, is the summary lead. So, with a summary lead, you want to ask yourself the 5 W's and 1 H. So, who, what, where, when, and why, and then people also want to know how. So, here's an example of a summary lead. You'll start seeing them all over the place if you look for them. There we go. So we have the Washington Post. They've written a story about female undergrads who suffer sexual attacks. So pretty sad subject, but here's the summary lead. Usually these are supposed to be around 30 words. So it says, more than 20% of female undergraduates at an array of prominent universities said this year that they were victims of sexual assault and misconduct, echoing findings elsewhere, according to one of the largest studies ever of college sexual violence. So we have the who, which is
Female undergrads.
yes, female undergrads. We have the when,
Now.
yeah, this year. The why, they've been sexually assaulted. When, what? What?
Sexual assault.
Yes. And then how they've been surveyed. So there's just an example. And with that, we are going to shift into writing our own summary lead. So a lead is kind of like a tweet. So pretend you're running Fox or CNN's. I don't know. Maybe you don't like either. Probably more somewhere in the middle. Who knows? But you just want to consider what would your lead be. So let's create a basic summary lead in the form of an imaginary story. So you guys can write it on whatever you want. Maybe let's try to make them kind of dramatic and exciting. Probably not from this world. So pretend you've just dropped into some parallel universe and you're writing a lead. Do that and then categorize the 5 W's and the 1 H. So you guys can do that as a table as well. Just write a lead on whatever you want, whatever you think would draw people in.
On the whiteboard?
Sure. Yeah, perfect. So 30 words or less.
Last week, Japanese scientists
So,
supposed
what
to
does that mean?
about
2?
You could say.
it was in plain language.
Yes.
I watched a million
Two
times
months.
that one.
Well,
That's so
A
bad.
fawn has been abducted.
Oh, we don't know now.
Yes, a fawn has been abduced or taken into custody for setting a daughter.
Yes, there's an idea. Caleb just mentioned that, yeah, identifying the 5 W's and the 1 H before you actually write the lead would be a helpful
Okay, let's see if we have a
exercise.
How? Ooh, Mr. Tubness.
Yeah, 5 alien astronauts.
nice.
Mr. Tubness.
Okay. Okay. Where?
What?
Okay.
Taken into custody. Into the custody of the White Witch.
When?
Favorite alternate place. This
Correct.
morning in the wee hours.
Well, it could be
Why?
like a human, like,
Because he
like,
had let
they've
my
met.
daughter leave go.
like,
Protected
they've discovered, what's the name of human?
How the wolves came. The wolves came and took my force.
We'll destroy their
That's what I was gonna say when you guys say that, chips.
Whoa.
Chips are exciting.
That's beautiful.
Chips are
You're
really
not wrong.
exciting.
Okay, so what is our lead?
Okay.
I just wrote a lead yesterday and reported one.
No, girl.
Good
What did I know?
In the wee hours of the morning.
Wow, this is just bad.
In the wee hours of this morning.
How? With their
Fawn.
Spaceship
Combine.
Yeah, spaceship combine. You make an NFL story out of that too.
Fawn.
They used to tell us while they were exploring.
It's taken from its home.
So, you wanna start?
Supposed to be less than 30 words.
What?
Yeah,
Crash landed and then they were
30 words?
Yeah.
Taken by
American astronauts.
from his home by the secret police of the White Witch.
They were.
Yeah, that's the one sad thing about a lead is you don't really get to have much beauty, and it's more of just a.
Ah,
Straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Harvest our crops.
has to be attention getting.
Exactly. It's a conflict.
taken into the custody.
Try harder.
Taken into custody by the White Witch's secret police. 4.
Depending on where, if we're writing in Arizona, it has more weight to say that. But we're not in Arizona, we're in Minnesota.
At the international.
This is giving me PTSD.
What is it called?
Reporting. Every lead I wrote was wrong.
So far, so nice.
Yes.
Harvest our crops with their spaceship combine.
I have no idea to harvest stuff.
How many?
Spelling, people
Yeah.
I can't spell people with over my
Oh,
shoulder.
yeah. Okay. Do we need to say the where?
That's a nice catch.
Like, did you spell that right? Like, they don't know.
Just, you can say yeah in the back. Okay.
I was trying to finish up in the next 2 minutes or so.
That makes sense. That's good to be a thing.
No, we're not. I don't think you did well enough to keep out you. So, no problem.
Due to the harvest moon.
Oh my goodness. That's the line.
Oh, wait, should we say like
Probably. During, what about this week's harvest moons?
Oh, wow.
Isn't
That could send you guys to the next level.
according to the article?
Tough to stay ahead of these advanced students, isn't it? You really have to work at it.
Let's go.
NASA footage?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Good work.
You know that health services is out of flu tests?
They're out of flu tests?
Yeah, tests. Not just Tamiflu. Tests.
Is that where they?
Okay, is everybody ready to roll?
Heck yeah, I've done that for.
Perfect. Okay, let's start with, start right in the middle. If you guys would read your lead, and then we'll look at it for a second or two, see if you guys have all the 5 W's and the 1 H, and if you do, we'll cheer you guys on and move on to the next one. So here we go.
Shane. Yes. In the wee hours of this Narnian morning, fond Mr. Tumnus was taken by secret police into custody of the White Witch on charges of protecting a human. I added the White Witch, I'm sorry.
That's a good,
We
that's a
have
good
enough
touch.
words.
Mhm. Yeah, looks good. I read the story. Lovely. Who wants to go next? Which table?
Please like to go next.
Thank you, Vince.
You can read it.
I will read it. Yesterday, 5 alien astronauts discovered potato chips for the first time when they crash landed on the moon, according to NASA footage.
Okay. I like it. Yeah, seems to fit the criteria. Very nice. All right, Caleb and Grace.
The Plutonians have arrived to harvest our crops in their spaceship combine near the Arizona border during this week's harvest moon.
Okay.
Protect.
I like it because it kind of feels like it's still ongoing if they're still harvesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Harvests don't last, or never mind.
Okay, great. So my big dream for this exercise was because students, especially today, see so much of their news and media actually on Twitter. My dream would be to create a hashtag for the classroom and then have kids actually take out their Twitter and say, oh, okay, a tweet can only be 140 characters, and so that's about 26 words, depend if you average 5 letters a word, which is probably a little short. What would be kind of a fun exercise is to have the kids actually go on Twitter, write their little lead, put a little picture with it, and then kids could favorite the ones they're most likely to click on. That'd be kind of a fun activity and a better way to do this, but because I know you guys don't want to be sending out tweets to annoy your followers and ultimately lose your followers, I figured we couldn't do that here. So I'd have the kids probably make fake accounts because, you know, middle schoolers and high schoolers would be even less likely to want to send out a garbage tweet. So if we had a little bit more time, we could go through each of these photos and write a lead for them. So this is kind of a cool photo with a guy coming back from World War II and returning home. So obviously that was news at the time. You could write a pretty cool lead for that. And then this just happened a couple weeks ago. SpaceX sent up SpaceX sent up a Starman dummy driver in a Tesla car. So yeah, that's exciting news and wouldn't be too tough to write a good lead for that. But the important thing about these two photos is obviously the media that goes along with the lead. So these photos do a great job of telling the story of what's actually happening. Here you can see the relief of the people coming back and the gravity of the situation. And in this one you can literally see the gravity of the situation. Okay, so with that, the photojournalism aspect of reporting of journalism is here. So if you're going to be running a school newspaper at some point, or if your kids just want to be having pictures to accompany their stories, our world is becoming more and more visual. So photos are becoming more and more essential to the journalism process because people don't often pick up just newspapers anymore. Almost every article you read has a photo accompanying it. So with that, we'll just watch this little basics video so that you guys can understand how to take great pictures. So you have the most basic rule of thirds. That was my personal